Fall means three things up here in the mountains: autumn leaves, football, and apples.
So stand by for everything you ever wanted to know about apples in this week's special Hi Neighbor.
Hi neighbor, I'm Michael Fields.
And I'm Olivia Abrams. And that wasn't the Spike Jonze that directed movies, was it? In our opening?
No, different spelling, different spelling. This Spike Jonze was a guy who had fronted a big band in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and maybe into the 60s. Had his own television show. It was Jones, the normal way to spell Jones. And they were called, his band were called the City Slickers. And they made all of their stuff funny.
And you could hear in that, the Hi Neighbor, you could hear that it was Hi Neighbor, but you could hear kazoos and you could hear horns.
Garbage can lids.
Out
everything.
of control.
Out of control. Well, why are we playing Spike Jonze as our theme song?
Well, we're having, remember, different variations every week. So
Of Hi
Neighbor, so we can pick one that best suits us, that we like the best.
I don't think that'll be it. Spike Jonze?
I don't know. It's your error, right, Michael?
It is my error. See, she always points out my age.
Yes.
Well, we have a terrific guest here today because we're all about apples today. Go ahead, Olivia. Introduce our guest.
Well, today we have Dr. Marty Root, an associate professor and nutritionist, and he teaches research methods in nutrition and foods here at App State's Beaver College of Health Sciences. Oh, and he's also an expert on apples.
Great.
So we're really excited to have you here today, Marty.
Thank you very much.
And we have a basket of apples that everyone can see, of a bunch of different varieties.
Yes, yes.
So of these apples, can you, first of all, tell us what each of these apples are? And then maybe, do you have a favorite apple?
Well, let's talk about some apples.
Okay.
First of all, apples are not all that easy to tell apart. You know, they're red.
A lot of them look just alike.
Yeah, they're just alike, right?
Yeah.
As it happens in this basket, we already know what's here. Here's two varieties here that look a little different.
They do look different.
These
this
are
looks
actually,
like a Snow White apple.
Doesn't it?
It does.
Yes.
Well, actually, it is kind of Snow White inside.
Oh, yes. This is a very white apple inside, yes.
And the name of that apple?
This is a Rome. And as so often happens, these varieties end up with different names. This is a Rome Beauty, or a Red Rome. All the same apple. Very confusing when you go to buy apples sometimes. These are both.
What's the other one?
Sorry, this is a Macintosh. Both very old varieties in terms of when they were first discovered, first invented. They came from seedlings. The Rome came from Rome County, Ohio, in the early 1800s. This one came from Canada. In fact, this is actually the national apple of Canada, the Macintosh is.
When you said invented.
Well,
that's what I was wondering, too.
Yes, well, in the older days, they were actually from seedlings. They actually took a seed and planted it. Nowadays, they're more clever about actually breeding them and creating apple varieties. So these older ones basically grew up, and somebody liked them and then marketed them, sold them, and that's what we have now.
Well, I have a question about, because we're talking about inventing apples. Well, you know the crab apple trees that are all over here.
Yes.
So was that invented too? I feel like that was the original apple, was the crab apple. Is that an accurate statement or not so much?
In North America, the native apple is a crab apple. The original apple, as in 10,000 years ago, came from the area around Croatia in Yugoslavia. And if you can still find them, they're a very dark red and very dark green, and you can still find them. They are still there.
And the names of those apples in the grocery store?
Croatian name.
No, you don't buy them.
You don't buy them,
but they're still
just
wild. There are actually wild apples still out there in the wild.
Oh, wow.
And we have taken them over time and bred and rebred them. There are actually about, by some estimates, about 7,500 varieties of apples out there.
Think of how much shelf space you'd have to have in Lowe's or Harris Teeter for that. What about the rest of them?
So yes, So those are two of the oldest. Here is a Granny Smith, obviously a very different color and a very different taste. This is a very tart apple, and actually very good for baking. Baking apples are especially good because they hold their shape. So when you bake an apple, it obviously heats up, and some apples will disintegrate and basically turn into sauce, make great sauce apples. Some of them, like this, will hold their shape and make great pies. If you bit into a pie, or if you cut a pie and it turned, and cut through it, and all you found was sauce in there, it wouldn't be a very good pie, would it? You really want a pie that has some substance to the pieces and hold together. Well, this is a great apple for that. Happens to be a very tart apple too, so if you like a tart apple, and that of course brings up the point of everybody has their favorite apple and everybody has different tastes in apples. Some people like sweeter apples, some people like tartar apples.
What's your favorite?
This happens to be one of my favorites for eating. I like a tart apple, and so I like a Granny Smith. I also like the galas, and I think we have a gala here.
We do have a gala. Oh no, I think
no, we missed the gala.
the gala is the one I used for the demonstration. It's gone.
It's gone, okay.
But they'll see it later.
But we do have a Honeycrisp, and that's actually very similar. Honeycrisp is one of these invented apples, invented by the University of Minnesota about 20, 30 years ago, patented by the University of Minnesota. They actually invented the name, trademark name. They've made about $10 million in patent rights on this thing.
Well,
so you can do that.
Dr.
So you can do that.
Well, you were talking about the different tastes in each of the apple and how you liked the tartness,
Yeah.
but you're also doing research, right, on
Yes.
the skins of the
Yes,
apples.
that's right.
What kind of research what does that entail, and what is in the skins that that not only makes them taste good but has some health benefits? I
Yes, some
think?
health benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started a few years ago. I just stumbled on an article that talked about a family of chemicals that are in the skins, and I learned later that there's actually in the wax. Apples have a natural wax on them. If you take a really sharp paring knife and scrape along the skin of an apple, this white stuff just pops right up. It's a very hard wax, and that's the natural wax on apples. And what it does is it protects them and keeps the water in, basically, keeps them from dehydrating. And in that wax is these materials called triterpenoids. And these triterpenoids, in a number of research studies that have gone on so far, seem to have some surprisingly health benefits in animals.
Like what?
Anti-diabetic properties. They seem to be very good at controlling glucose levels in blood.
Oh, wow.
They slow down glucose absorption. They enhance glucose absorption into our tissues. They act almost insulin-like in their properties. They probably are anti-inflammatory, which is helpful for us. In some studies, they've been shown to lower blood pressure.
And is it just in the skins of the apples, or is it just the apple? If you just eat an apple a day, are you going to get those same kind of health benefits, or is it just if you're eating it with the skin? Because I know a lot of us
the
don't
materials
like the
I'm
skin.
talking about are in the skins.
Okay.
So if you like your apple with the skin off, peeled,
You're not
going
really-
to get those same benefits.
You wouldn't get those benefits, but in fact, apples have lots of wonderful things in them.
Like what?
Fiber. Fiber is great fiber in apples. Vitamin C, a group of chemicals called polyphenols, which are antioxidants and have very nice properties, suspected for being antioxidants in us, possibly lowering risk of breast cancer, colon cancers, heart disease, things like that.
Are these things proven fact, or are they still being researched?
It's still being researched. What we find is some really nice epidemiologic studies show that people who eat apples and pears actually, seem to have lower risks of these diseases. So that kind of study, those association studies, point to apples being among the fruit that is associated with lower risks.
All
of
right, I
these
have one
diseases.
last question
Yeah,
before we go into this other section of
Yes.
apples. Was there ever really a Johnny Appleseed?
Good story, and I'm not entirely sure. I think there was, but I think there's a lot of myths growing up about who he was and what he actually did.
Sort
Now,
of like
Michael,
Paul
Dr.
Bunyan.
Root, Dr. Root is not a history specialist.
Yes,
He's an
yes.
apple
You kind of
specialist.
caught me on that one, yeah.
So
Marty, thank
we
you
have
so much.
really enjoyed this, and thank you so much for being with us. I think
Yes,
maybe
yes.
I'll steal one of these
Oh,
for later.
by all means, steal that one. It's
Steal
supposed
this
to be a
one?
really tasty one.
All right,
there,
well,
yes.
thank you, Dr. Root.
Sure enough.
We're going to share some more great apple recipes right after this.
Hey, Gabby, how you doing? How's the play date and sleepover?
Dad, it was great.
Awesome. Okay, I'm on my way. Hey, guys, what are you doing?
We're going swimming. We're going biking. Yeah!
I'll see you in a little bit, guys. I love you.
Hi, babe. How was school today?
Hi, Dad. It was great.
Okay, honey. I'll be home soon. Remember, you're never too far away from your kids to be a dad. Reach out and take a second to check in, because sometimes the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Okay, everyone, for our last segment, we are going to be showing a little cooking demonstration from a recipe that Michael has from, you said, your mom?
Ma Fields.
Ma
Now,
Fields.
wait a minute. Before we do that, though, how do you like our orchard? We did this right in the studio. No rain.
Beautiful
All
weather.
those apple trees we have to water by hand because there's no rain in here. Isn't it great?
we got
And
our
you just
apples.
picked this right
Just
out back.
fresh.
Okay, now, here's what we're going to do. We have 3 really good recipes. We're only going to make one of them
In
now.
studio today.
In studio today.
Okay.
All right, this is called 88-calorie baked apple.
Sounds perfect.
Only
for me.
88 calories, and the thing I like about it, you don't like to cook, or you
I
don't
don't.
cook. I don't do much, but this is so easy. Even my dog Oliver could make
do
this.
it.
Yeah.
A monkey could do it. All right.
We have to core this apple, and by the way, you're supposed to use a baking apple like Rome Beauty, which is
Okay.
one of the ones, and this is a Rome Beauty. Now,
That Dr. Root has
yes.
talked about.
Now,
All right, so
core it.
I'm going to be very cautious in doing this.
Actually, it's
So-
not very sharp.
Okay.
Here-
So we
here
just
we go.
core it and
Coring
put it
it.
right through the middle.
And just
And
twist it.
right?
Yeah, that's it. That's
oh.
it.
Oh, wow. That was easy.
Pull out that core. Look at that.
Oh, did I get all? I don't know.
No,
if I
you got enough.
I did?
You
Okay.
got enough. Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Okay.
Now, you put that apple right in here in a deep dish
Okay.
and an
Ooh.
oven-proof dish.
I want to pour. Can I pour this?
You pour it. Now, this is supposed to be diet black cherry soda,
All right.
but I couldn't find any diet. So this is going to be more than an 88
Okay,
calorie
maybe it's
apple.
89 calories.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Uh-huh.
All right.
Pour it over that sucker. There we go.
Oh, it's
See how it's
fizzing up. Just
It
the whole,
is.
The
The
half
whole
can?
thing. Whole thing.
Okay.
Now, ordinarily, you would make 4 apples, and you would use two of these.
Okay.
Okay. Now, cinnamon
Is our next ingredient
on top and down in the core. Just
just everywhere?
slug it everywhere.
wow.
That's
That's too much.
yeah.
When you say slug it on, what do you think I'm going to do?
Well, this wasn't a slug. This was a massacre. Okay, look, that's all right. Too much cinnamon can't hurt you
All
at all.
right.
There it is. All right, now here's what we're going to
Cinnamon
do.
and the cherry soda go together?
Oh boy, do they ever. Now, here's what we're going to do.
All right.
Put this on top,
Okay.
nice and snugly. All right, you're going to put this in the oven for half an hour at 325.
Does it get all mushy?
No, it gets mushy, but it doesn't break down. It doesn't turn to applesauce.
Okay.
And that's why Rome Beauty or one of those like it is a good thing to do. So 325 for half an hour. When the half an hour is up, you put the temperature up to 350.
Oh, that's
and
the
let
important
it be
part.
in.
Don't forget that.
And let it be in for another half an hour. So in other words, half an hour at 325.
Okay.
Keep it in the oven. Turn it up 25 degrees to 350, and then
Total 1 hour baking
and
time.
here is
take
what
our-
it looks like. Here, but move that one over out of the way.
Okay.
Now here I have a little bit of mint that I picked this
switch with
morning
you.
in my garden, and this is what the baked apple looks like. Isn't that great?
Yeah, can we get like, ooh, it's,
Well, look at the side.
Yeah.
It kind of splits, and it is.
tell me what it tastes like.
Oh, it tastes like applesauce. That's all in one piece.
And it's not fizzy like the drink.
No, the fizz is gone. The fizz is gone. This
Okay.
is really a terrific, terrific recipe.
And if you do use the right soda, it's super low calorie.
88 calories.
88 calories. All right, well, I have something, and it's not 88 calories. It's more like 280
Oh,
calories.
let's put this over here and
But-
let's see it.
All right, so last night I had cooked for us. It's very simple. It's they're called apple bombs, and all it is crescent rolls, small little baking caramels, and apple pie filling. And what they're dusted in is the cinnamon sugar, and you can make cinnamon sugar just super, super easy. It's just cinnamon
mix
and sugar. So you bake them for 12 minutes, 375, just like the crescent rolls instruct, and they're done. And when they're warm is when they're best, because the caramel just
Oh man,
oozes out.
apple and caramel is one of the best things ever.
Best combinations you
All
can
right,
think of.
we have two other ones, which we're not going to demonstrate.
Okay.
One is Irish apple pie,
Yes,
which if I were a better, I would really do. But the rest, and the other is, of course, the apple bombs.
Yes.
So all three recipes, where?
We're going to find them all on watchapptv.com and on our Facebook page. And it's Watch App TV.
That is
You can find
terrific.
all of them, which are all so easy to do. Excited.
Well, this is our first cooking demonstration. We thank you for sticking it out with us in our personal little studio orchard. And now we're going to visit our friend Judith Geary and another episode of Books Matter.
Joseph Bethanti is an App State English professor who is an author, novelist, and perhaps most notably, a poet. He served as North Carolina's Poet Laureate from 2012 to 2014. His poetry collections include Anson County, The Feast of All Saints, Land of Amnesia, Concertina, This Metal, and Restoring Sacred Art. We spoke with him last time about his collections of short stories, essays, and award-winning novels. His work has brought him the 2016 North Carolina Award for Literature, the state's highest civilian honor. Bethanti's latest poetry collection, The 13th Sunday After Pentecost, will be released by LSU Press this fall. Joe, welcome to Books Matter.
Thanks, Judy. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Let's talk first about your experience as North Carolina Poet Laureate. What kinds of things did they make you do?
Typically, the Poet Laureate visits schools, public schools all over the state, prisons, hospitals, Meals on Wheels, Girl Scout troops, arts councils, you know, a vast array of just really interesting locales you get called into.
So you're not just reading poetry in various places.
You know, you're not just reading poetry. The North Carolina Poet Laureate's job description is that he or she is the ambassador of reading, writing, literature, and literacy in the state. So often when I was in those, especially rural, underserved counties, I was driving home the fact that reading and writing really, really matters, and that education is everything. And also, apart from those kinds of things, the North Carolina Poet Laureate is asked to declare a signature project. And in my signature project was working with returning combat veterans, all veterans and their families, to harvest their stories through poetry, essay, fiction, you name it. So I found myself really immersed in veterans work and veterans advocacy work.
So that part of the project has continued on, I understand.
It does. It has. I've been doing it now for 4 years. Yeah.
4 years now and still doing it. Okay.
Yeah, and it's been breathtaking, life-changing work for me.
Wonderful.
As a teacher, I've been taught more than I've dispensed, I think.
So what inspires your own poetry?
I suppose for me, Judy, it's memory as much as anything. For lack of a better word, I'm an autobiographical poet, although I take plenty of liberties with that autobiography. The speaker in the poem isn't always me. And I'm inspired certainly by landscape. I'm inspired by two locales particularly. Pittsburgh of my imagination in my boyhood, and certainly the North Carolina of my last 40 years. I'm drawn to the landscape, but I'm also drawn to the image. For me, the image is the poem, a kind of dramatic situation, something that I can see. I tend to be more a concrete narrative poet, and I try to write with my sensibilities rather than about my sensibilities, and steer away from abstraction for abstraction's sake. So usually it's something that for whatever reason remains indelible in my brain pan, something that's up there, memory triggers it, and I just kind of, as I tell my students, narrate the memory.
Yeah. So you've written about your childhood in Pittsburgh. Did you write poetry as a child?
You know, I really didn't, Judy. I can't say that I read poetry as a child other than the kinds of poetry that any kid might have read to them. Nursery rhymes, Mother Goose, those kinds of things. It was once I got into high school that I started fooling around with poetry. I went to high school between 1967 and 71, and it was a fertile time for the imagination for boys to begin to develop feelings too. And I went to a fire-breathing, fabulous high school in Pittsburgh, 1,200 Catholic boys, all working class, and we had a spectacular faculty that put books and films and allowed us to experiment and just opened our eyes in miraculous ways that remain life-changing for me.
So are you working on, I notice you have a book coming out from LSU Press in the fall, and it's, or at least this year. What's the core of that book?
Of 13?
13.
You know, it's, I'm afraid it's the usual suspects, you know, it's Catholicism and it's baseball and it's Pittsburgh and it's alleys and a lot of Italian immigrant stories. It goes, I think, a little deeper and uses language in different ways than I've ever done before. So I don't think it's simply a rehash. I'm taking some chances there.
So you're working on something exciting now?
I hope so. I'm trying to mop up a lot of projects. You're a writer. Writers know that it's always more fun to start things than to finish them. So I have a number of, trying to finish a short story collection and bring some essays into another collection, and a kind of hybrid book of poems that combines personal essay and fiction and all sorts of other things that I'm just fooling around with.
Well, that sounds like something we can look forward to.
I hope so.
Thank you so much for being here.
My great pleasure.
Yeah. And I'm Judith Gary. And remember, please, books matter.
This is the story of a boy who was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help. And slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
So as you know, Michael, people come to the high country from all over to get out in the crisp autumn air and pick our mountain apples. We've chosen 2 locations you might like to try. Skytop Orchard in Flat Rock, North Carolina, and the orchard at Alta Pass in Spruce Pine, my stomping grounds.
Why is that your stomping ground?
Well, that's where I'm from.
Spruce Pine?
Spruce Pine.
There you go,
Little
right in your
spruce
backyard.
pine.
Now,
Well, looks like someone has been in the apples, and I think I know who it is because you loved our apple segment today,
I
right?
love apples.
I do too.
love apples. Well, till next week. Bye, neighbor.
Bye. We want to thank Bouquet Flowers and Gifts in the Boone Heights Shopping Center for this week's beautiful flower arrangement.
Apple peaches, pumpkin pie. Who not ready?